All right. Well, you ready? All right.
Yeah.
All right. Very happy to be joined by Simon Proven here today. Simon has been a dear friend and he's a talented actor. In fact, Simon, over the years now, you've already played five roles with Salty Earth Pictures. Let's see now. You've been a pastor twice, a movie star slash actor twice, and a prince. So, tell us a little bit about your roles and maybe what one of your most what's near and dear to your heart in one or two of the roles.
Sure. Um, Boy, it's been even as you're saying, I've played like a pastor twice. Both pastors I'd like to think were so different. Um, first one being in The Open Door, and which was a fantastic movie, really, really showed the heart of Christians towards special needs people, or how we should be towards people with special needs. Um, and kind of going off on a small tangent, Steve, I still love the line that we all have special needs. Some just have them on the outside, and some have them on the inside. And that is certainly true. So that, chalk that up to one of my favorite things out of all the movies I've done is that line in and of itself. Then there was August Starr, who that was the same character in two movies. So, you've given me the opportunity to play two different roles that have the same vocation, but then also the opportunity to play a character that continued on. So I had that experience. And then, of course, a great honor being the prince in The Return. Um, the representation, the Christ figure in that movie. I mean, it doesn't get more honorable than that. Um, so, as far as some of my favorite things, or two of my favorite roles, that's it's really tough to choose because it's almost like asking a dad, who's your favorite child?
Yeah.
They're all um, awesome opportunities to tell these wonderful stories. They're all so very different. I will say, I think the um, the first movie with August Starr, the author, the Star, and the Keeper, um, having the opportunity to really play this complex character who was really going through a lot of struggles, both personally, spiritually, but then also with his dad. Um, to be able to go through that emotional roller coaster that August went on, especially in that first movie, as an actor, the opportunities don't get much better than that, being
Mhm.
able to take on that complex character. And I certainly hope I did it some justice. Um, and one on one as well. Boy, I could talk about every single role. So just stop me when you've heard enough.
Well,
But
it's
one
one
by
by
one
one,
again,
but that's okay. That's okay. It's one by one.
one by one, right? um, Being able to meet Lance and work with him and all the people I've worked with through the years,
Yeah.
Heather, Dale, all these new friendships, rekindling my friendship with Ken, of course, the friendship that you and I have started up
Mhm.
over a decade ago, I think now,
Yeah,
maybe.
it's been
Um,
definitely, yeah.
but the idea of being able to play this mentor to someone who they're not quite sure where God is leading them, or they are sure but they're struggling with where God is leading them.
Mhm.
Um, that speaks to my heart a lot.
Yeah.
um,
You know that
so
you mentioned something really interesting, in the first August Star movie, The Author's the Star and the Keeper, when he leaves home and his dad, played by David Ruprecht, is just like, "Goodbye, Augie." As kids continue to leave the house, we've had five of them. It's such a boy that scene always just sticks with me. Is yep, that's such a amazing moment, and you guys captured it so well.
Well, and that personally just happened to me. Just moved I mean, my daughter's been in Chicago, but just moved her from her dorm room into her first apartment.
Mhm.
And this was, just a few days ago. So I've recently had that actual moment in my life.
Yep.
Granted, she didn't move as far away as Augie did from Owl's Point, but for the fact that, yeah, she's got her first apartment, and that idea of, all right, it's, you're officially leaving the nest now. You're
Yeah.
not just in a dormitory, you're living in an apartment in a different city. That's
Yeah.
it's a tough but beautiful moment.
Yeah, it is. And yet you always, you're always still their dad with, especially
Yes.
with Father's Day coming. Well, we'll just have celebrated Father's Day when people see this. So yeah, yeah, you're always can play that important role. Speaking of kind of playing an important role, you had a really unique experience. I know you've talked about this before in the past to different audiences, but with The Return, we sometimes wonder if our work is ever really affecting anybody or doing anything because, we're not on the stage in what we do. We are, but it's a screen. And
Mhm.
we might be going on with our lives and not really know. Can you tell us a little bit about the sort of the wonderful thing that happened to you after someone saw that movie?
Yeah. And this was a few months after it was released. I happened to get a message on Facebook from someone living in Texas, and she had just reached out to me saying, I hope you don't mind me messaging you. I've been looking for a way to connect with someone from the return. She had said that she was really struggling with her life to the point that she had decided she was going to commit suicide. Um, and then the return came across her screen, and she decided to watch it. After watching that movie, she broke down in tears, prayed out to God, and thanked him for placing this movie in her life, because she now understood that God was always for her, that he would not forsake her. And Steve, she decided to forego her plans of killing herself.
Mhm.
And the return, uh, through God, of course, literally saved this woman's life.
It takes money and planning to make movies, and sometimes we always hear about, well, what's the ROI, the return on investment, and things like that. That was the if that was the only reason to make that movie, and it wasn't. The movie has been seen by a lot of people. That would have been fine with me. That would have been fine with me.
Absolutely. I mean, what better ROI, Steve, than eternal salvation?
Yeah, yeah, what a blessing. And we could go on about the stories that people really do relate to movies, don't they, Simon? I mean, a lot. There's something in them that can kind of break down the barrier. I think. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's media is so powerful. So much of what we do as a culture is led by media. And I don't mean that in any like sort of political sense. It's a fact.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, there's something about film, about watching a film, watching a movie that almost makes it safe in a way for people to have time. You're whether you're sitting at home watching a movie by yourself, or even in a movie theater where it's darkened. So again, it kind of gives you that safe area to really explore these different ideas that are being presented to you, and that's why it is so powerful, because it really is this almost one-on-one message for every single person
Mhm.
watching that film. um and that's why it's so important that we as Christians are able to use this media to encourage people, encourage believers, and hopefully um, help those who are unbelievers that are perhaps seeking something greater than themselves.
That is so true. Couldn't have said it any better. Now you've got over your shoulder there a poster for a classic movie. It's not quite as well known as most of Salty Earth Pictures movies, but I know you're a student of film. You love movies, and what was it for you? See, because this to me was one of the neatest experiences to be able to, and you all in the stand in the gap. Am I correct on that? Yeah, good. Now they're all kind of blending together.
Right.
You had
Isn't
the
that a glorious thing, Steve, though, that you've made so many movies, we've made so many together. We're starting to, like, we can't
I
remember which is
wait,
which.
yeah. I know. I walk past some of the sets we use sometime, and it's like I'm thrown back into the movie. It's like, oh no. Well, you had a really neat opportunity on screen to work with Daniel Truitt, and I had the real neat opportunity to direct him. And Daniel Truitt, of course, in a classic movie that's 60 years old next year, The Sound of Music. And you know, Robert Weiss, the director, has done so much, and for him to have performed as Rolf with Liesl in the gazebo and Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer. It was just such a neat experience. What was it like for you to kind of be in the first movie with Ralph after The Sound of Music in it?
It was yeah, this is going to sound like I'm exaggerating, but it almost felt otherworldly, to know that Daniel is part of movie history in a massive way. And here, little old Simon Provan from Cudahy, Wisconsin, gets to be on screen with this guy and have several scenes with him. I, of course, have to thank you for that opportunity, Steve. Without you, I'm not in the same room as Daniel Truitt. Now that said, what a down to earth guy. You would, other than knowing film history and of course knowing who Daniel Truitt is. If you didn't know who he was, you wouldn't know that his place in cinema history because he's just so down to earth,
Mhm.
so giving as an actor. All he wants to do is tell a good story.
That,
Uh,
yep, that
yeah,
is so true. Yeah, it's been such a blessing for Salt the Earth Pictures. And of course, we're working on a documentary about his life that'll be out soon. I keep forgetting that we're both Cudahy guys. Do they have our names on the sign yet as you drive? Hometown of Simon and Steve.
unfortunately, no, I don't think
Yeah,
so.
that's probably a good thing for Cudahy. Hey, Simon, we all get together and we want to make the best movie as possible when we come to Salty Earth Pictures, but so much else has developed out of that. Can you tell us a little bit about just, the kind of the family that sort of has developed out of Salty Earth Pictures?
Absolutely. In fact, that literally is. We talk about favorites. That is my favorite thing about Salty Earth Pictures. I love making the movies. I love doing all the other projects that we do together, Steve. But it really is all about the Salty Earth Pictures family. I think it shows on the screen how much we all enjoy being around each other. But this idea of coming together as a community with one single purpose lives so much in the spirit of Salty Earth Pictures. You walk in that studio, which again, you would never guess on the outside what a wonderful studio Salty Earth Pictures is. But I have made so many great friends throughout the years, and at the risk of leaving people out, again, your entire family, um, especially with Jessica being behind the camera and being the eye on so many of these films. David Ruprecht, of course. There's another guy, that I couldn't believe it the first day I walked on the set of The Return, and here's the host of oh my goodness, I'm blanking right now because I'm on
Supermarket Sweep.
Supermarket Sweep.
The
In
next
fact,
time
Sarah
you
and I
hear
were
the
just
beep beep, think of the fun you can have on Supermarket Sweep.
Sarah and I were just watching some old episodes of that the other night on our television. Um, again, like I said, rekindling my friendship with Ken Williams. Of course, Heather Ricks and I have done quite a few movies together now. Dale Waddington, Daniel Truitt, as we mentioned. And then there's so many people that aren't on screen that I still have such wonderful relationships with. Um, that Christina, who does the makeup for just about everything. We've just gotten to know each other so well, and this idea of not just community itself, but Christian community. You walk in the building and you feel it, and every day I get to be there, Steve, is truly is a day of living the dream.
I just came across a picture. We shot a couple of the scenes at my house, or we actually were shooting. at a cabin sort of that's down the road from us, and there's a scene of you and Beth, my wife, and it's just like I thought to myself, it's like it is family. It is family that we get together and we are blessed to be able to make these pictures. So
And you know what? So I don't forget too, Bill and Kurt. I mean, my goodness, those two men, what they
mhm.
all do for Salty Earth,
Yeah,
and they make every single person feel so welcome when they walk through that studio door, whether it's the first time or the 500th time. They
yep.
they make you feel like you belong.
Yep, they are a blessing, and we've that's one of the things I know the audience is probably getting sick of me saying that, but we can have an actual physical budget for the movie, but because of gifts and kinds and volunteer support, we can four times it. You know, it's amazing. The people and the that come to bat for us is such a blessing. Um, you've stayed in the Midwest, but you've gotten to have a lot of opportunities. What would be sort of your advice for actors that, maybe don't want to go the Hollywood route or New York, but are there still things that they can do and how do they find them? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, yeah, I've done quite a bit of theater, not as much recently because I'm a theater professor as well, and that takes up a lot of my time. So I don't have as much opportunity to be on stage. However, I do a lot of commercial work. I do a lot of voiceover work. I've been blessed to have an opportunity to be in an episode of Chicago Fire with an actual speaking role. Um, there's tons of opportunities. There's this misnomer that you've got to be in New York or LA to have some type of acting career. Excuse me. And that's just not true. Now, yes, there's more money out there when you're looking at those types of opportunities. However, I did have an agent in New York. My wife and I moved out there with our kids. But this was August of 2008. And for those of you who are history buffs, that's when the Great Recession hit. So all my day jobs, everything just dried up on me. So we had to lick our wounds only a few months into that and move back. And I was devastated about that. And I'll be honest with you, Steve, I really struggled with the Lord for a couple of years with that. And then opportunities started to come. And I landed a couple of new agents in this area. So I've got a couple of agents in Chicago, three or four in Wisconsin. And I met this man named Steve Zambo
Oh no, I'm
a
sorry
few
about that.
years later. And my opportunities with Salty Earth. Again, we talk about the five films I did, but the very first thing I ever did with you, Steve, was the Prodigal Son story
Oh.
for the Bible B-roll series, in which I
Hmm.
got to play the older brother who felt shunned by his father. Um,
Then you moved
so
up to
through
Jesus in later
and
episodes.
that's right. I played Jesus. Oh my goodness, that's right. Always an honor to play the Lord and
Yeah.
Savior. So there's those opportunities. But again, through my agents, there are tons of commercials out there in the local market, tons of voiceover opportunities in the local market. Am I making millions of dollars? Am I making six figures? No, I'm not. However, I still get to be involved. I do make a decent living at it. And, for me, most importantly, is my family, is what it comes down to. And I am so grateful, so honored. And I use this word a lot, but I am blessed that with my commitment to family, I'm still able to have an acting career
Mhm.
here I live near Milwaukee, and blows me away sometimes when I look at all the gigs that I've done throughout a year. It really blows me away. So that whole time I was struggling with God. Now that I look back and have 2020 vision on it, I realize that what he was saying is, hey, New York,
Mhm.
it's not where I need you. I need you here. And I
Mhm.
truly believe a big part of that, Steve, was he was setting it up for you and I to meet so
Mhm.
that I could be part of this Christian media film
Mhm.
company called Salty Earth Pictures, because
So that
that's some of the most important work
so that lady
I've ever
could
done.
see you in the middle of the night on
That's
that
right.
flickering light in Texas. Yep.
That's right. Absolutely. Amen.
I think you're right about that, Simon. And we just pray he uses the movies in whatever way he wants. Speaking of that, you're not only been an actor with Salty Earth Pictures and a dear friend, but you've been on the board. And what's sort of your prayer for this ministry now as we go off into our 21st year?
Well, first of all, it's awesome that you're going to be heading into the 21st year. And, but first of all, my prayer is that if the Lord allows, I will be able to make my way back on the board. It's been tough with schedules and everything, and that's how that came to be. But my biggest prayer, Steve, is that he continues, yes, to use the movies and all the projects to reach both believers and non-believers. And, we just trust that, as you said, he's going to use it as he needs to use it. Um, but also, I think the biggest thing is that the Salty Earth family just continues to grow. That, you know, every single movie, the quality grows by the investments that are made through so many donations, whether it's camera, lights, um, people donating an entire town to film a movie in.
I
But
keep
it's
coming up.
also, but the biggest part is the people that the Lord brings to Salty Earth. So I pray that He just continues to bring talented people to Salty Earth, and most importantly, that through the experience of working on a Salty Earth film, that all of our faiths will be
Mhm.
encouraged.
Right. You
And
mentioned,
and
oh, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, and that Salty Earth continues to grow its touch around the country, around the world. That Salty Earth will be up there someday with other big name studios.
There you go. Well, thank you from your lips to God's ears, right? One of the things you mentioned was, you don't have to be necessarily in LA. You can be in the Midwest, and I think we've seen that with our movies, right? I mean, we got Chris Vario now from coming in from Louisiana, and Heather Atlanta, and then a group from Branson, and of course we get the LA and Northern California folks. But really, it's more and more people hear about Salty Earth Pictures and participate, it's with us, uh, North Carolina, South Carolina. We're getting people from everywhere now, so that's exciting. That's exciting to see that fire starting to grow.
Absolutely. You bring up Chris. Him and I didn't get to work together on this last movie, but we certainly had great bonding experience at one of the gatherings that we had, and well, it was actually at the premiere at
Yeah.
Fireside.
Mhm.
Um, what a great guy,
Yeah.
and for the fact that he was in a very successful movie, and here you reach out to him, offer him a role, and he jumps on the opportunity. That already right there says a lot
Yeah.
about Salty Earth.
Yeah, it really does. So, and it's very exciting. And speaking of great guys, you're one of them, Simon, and we're very blessed to have you in the family. And we thank you for taking the time to join us today, and also have just a wonderful summer. Okay, and I'm looking forward to maybe. I'm still trying to figure out if it's a coach or whatever in the Don Beebe movie. I know you suggested Chester Markle, the field goal kicker, right, for the Packers at that time,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah, there's sort of a resemblance there. I just want you to play somebody we can sack a lot, but I have to kind of come up with a.
Hey, wherever you need me, Steve, I'm there.
All right, Simon. Thank you so much. You're a blessing. Have a great rest of the summer.
Likewise, you too, Steve. Thanks for having me. It's been absolute honor and pleasure, and I'm looking forward to the continued work. God bless you, my friend.
Thank you very much. All right.